If you're getting used to GA4 as a user of Universal Analytics, then the new interface can feel pretty intimidating at first. At least that's how I felt. So in this video, we're going to look at how to recreate some of the most frequently used reports in Universal Analytics, like top selling products, traffic by channel or campaign, and also if you stay to the end, we'll look at how to create a custom landing page report here in GA4. So with all that said, let's get started. Universal Analytics made it pretty easy to find data for top selling products because you could find that on the e-commerce overview page or in the product performance report. So to find that information in GA4, we're going to go to the reports tab first. And then once we're here, we're going to go to monetization and then e-commerce purchases. So this basically is going to give us the GA4 version of top selling products. And so by default, this is going to be sorted by item view events, but you can easily sort this by item revenue over here by clicking this down arrow button. And so at this point, you'll be able to see top selling products in GA4. They also provide a couple of charts here where you can see trends in top selling products as a line chart or a scatter plot. Now, I wanted to take a quick break from the Google demo data property to my own demo property because I wanted to show you that if you have edit access in GA4, then you can click this customize report button, the pencil icon, and you can click on metrics, and you'll see here the same way it was in the GA4 demo data report that this report actually sorts by item view events first. So it's really more of a most viewed products report by default than top selling products. But we can change that by clicking that pencil icon, going to metrics, and then we can click on item revenue right here. So once we do that, we can see that this down arrow is now next to item revenue by default, and we'll click apply. So at that point, we'll just save changes to this report, click save, and now this is a top selling products report by default. Next, let's talk about how to find your top channels and top campaigns here in GA4. So this is something that Universal Analytics made pretty easy to find. We could just go straight to the acquisition tab, and then we could see our top channels and campaigns right there. So in GA4, it's a little bit different, and we'll go to the reports tab first, and then we'll go to acquisition, and you'll see a couple of options here. There's user acquisition and traffic acquisition. And so GA4 introduces a couple of new dimensions around how people arrive at your website or app. You'll see those most commonly listed as the session source and the first user source. Anytime you see first user, that is how someone arrived at your website or app for the very first time. And anything that is session based is the most recent way that someone arrived at your website or app. So we'll start off by looking at the user acquisition report first, and we can see that this is pretty similar to the top channels report in Universal Analytics. We'll see everything listed out here by first user, default channel group here, with new users, engaged sessions, conversions, and total revenue listed out right here. So keep in mind that the conversions will be reflecting everything that you've identified as a conversion in GA4 through the configure tab, and total revenue is going to be the sum of purchase revenue plus subscription revenue and ad revenue. So next, how do you look at campaigns? We can click this drop-down menu right here, and it'll show us all of the different first user dimensions that we can look at. And so we'll see first user campaign in this menu. So if we click that, it'll switch to reporting all the campaigns that people have arrived from. And we can also, let's say we want to look at Google Ads campaigns specifically, we can go to first user source medium, for example. Google CPC will be Google Ads visitors, and we can click this plus sign to add a new dimension. So we'll say first user source or first user campaign actually. And then we can use this filter button up here. And then we'll say our dimension is going to be a first user source medium that matches Google CPC. And once we apply that, we'll see all of our Google Ads campaigns in this report here. So next, how do you find your top events in GA4? In Universal Analytics, this was different because you could go to your behavior report and then go to the event overview. And the reason why it's different in GA4 is because everything is considered an event, including page views. So to find your top events here in GA4, we'll go to the reports tab, and then we'll go to engagement, and then we can go to events by event name. And here on this report, we'll see all of our events listed on this page by event count. And we can also see if there's any revenue associated with those events and the engagement rate. And while we're in this engagement section, we might as well look at where you can find your conversions here in GA4. Another important distinction here is that these were considered or referred to as goals in Universal Analytics. In those cases, we were looking at goals and goal completions, but now Google Analytics 4 refers to them as conversions. And so we can find our conversions, which we can, as we can see by this filter right here, it's going to show us a report of all of our events that we consider conversions. So you can see all of those listed here. And if you're wondering what a conversion is in GA4, we'll do a quick detour over here to the Configure tab. Here, by default, we'll see all of the events that are being tracked here in GA4. And you can see right here, there's this little tab for mark as a conversion. I don't have edit access since this is just the GA4 demo account, but we can see here that everything that is considered a conversion just has this little switch toggled on. Next, we'll look at the top conversion paths report in GA4. And in Universal Analytics, you would find this by going to the Conversions tab and then looking at the multi-channel funnels and then conversion paths. And so this one I think is actually much easier to find in GA4. So to find this one, we're just going to go to the Advertising tab, and then next we'll go to Conversion Paths right here under Attribution. Personally, this is probably one of my favorite reports in terms of how it's evolved from Universal Analytics to GA4. We'll see more of the traditional conversion path type of report that we're used to from Universal Analytics, but they do give us quite a bit of flexibility here. So here at the top, we can see early, mid, and late touch points. And right now, this is set up for reporting on conversions by default channel group using a cross-channel data-driven model. What's really cool about this is that we can not only change the attribution model, but we can also look at conversions by source, medium, or campaign. So if we wanted to look at campaign, for example, we just change that option in the dropdown, and it becomes pretty easy for us to see which campaigns, or also just as important, which channels are introducing people to your site or app to the top of the funnel, and which ones are ultimately driving conversions. One other really important point to consider here is that you can also control which conversion events are included in this report. So if we decide, for example, like maybe begin checkout or first visit isn't a good indication of how people are finding our site and becoming buyers, then we can take first visit and these other events out. Maybe predicted LTV and top spenders are good ones to keep in. So we can change that and it'll adjust our data slightly. We can also change that reporting down here and look at this by campaign in the table as well. And last, we'll look at how to create a landing page report here in GA4. And yes, you do have to create it. And so for that reason, it kind of goes without saying that a landing page report was much easier to access in Universal Analytics. You simply had to go to the Behavior tab and then to landing pages. In GA4, on the other hand, the closest thing that we get by default, we'll start off by going to the Reports tab, and then we'll go to Engagement, and then Pages and Screens. So once we're here, it'll show us our most viewed pages by page title in screen class. So screen class being the mobile app equivalent of your page title. That being said, it's not a bad report, but a lot of people do want to see landing pages by URL. To do that, we're going to leave the demo property and then go to my own sandbox. So now that we're here, it's worth mentioning that you'll need edit access in GA4 to be able to create a landing page report. And we'll start off by clicking this pencil icon to customize a report. And then we'll click Dimensions, add a dimension, and start typing landing page, and we'll select landing page plus query string. So then we can drag this to the very top, set this as our new default, and then apply. And so we'll see that this page views and screens report now changes to a landing page report. So what we can do next is save this. And if we save changes to the current report, then it'll overwrite the pages and screens report, basically just turning it into our new landing page report. But if we want to keep that, we can save this as a new report, and we can just call it landing pages. And we'll save that. And so we'll go back, and now you'll notice once we go back to reports, the question is, well, where do we find landing pages? Because it's not here under engagement. So this is something that is an interesting but kind of quirky feature about GA4. So we'll go to library, and this does allow us to totally customize all of the reporting that we have here in the reports tab to an extent. But we'll start off by editing this collection for lifecycle. Actually, I believe it's this one. I might have a duplicate in here. So we'll start off by editing this lifecycle report right here, and we'll click Edit Collection. And then here we'll search for landing pages, and we'll drag this from this column to right here, and we'll place it just below pages and screens. And then we'll save this, and we will save changes to the current collection. And if you save it as a new collection, it'll end up creating a duplicate, which is how I have two lifecycle reports right here. And then once we click engagement, we'll see that landing pages is right here beneath pages and screens now. And so there you have it. That's how you create a landing page report here in GA4. And if there's any other types of reports that you want to see, then definitely let me know. Leave a comment. Would love to find out what other reports that you want to be able to see, or if there's any other features that you want to explore. And if you found this helpful, then please like and subscribe.